Good morning. I'm Matt Driskill, editor of Asian Aviation Magazine and AsianAviation.com. Welcome to the latest In Conversation, sponsored by Metrojet of Hong Kong. Today we are in conversation with Nick Gitsis. Hope I'm pronouncing your last name right, Nick, or Nikos, I think I saw on the website. He is the president and CEO of MRO provider Dornier Technology in the Philippines. Nick, welcome to In Conversation. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Matt. I'm happy to be here with you today.
It's good to see you. You're in the Philippines, up at Clark, I think. Have you guys been hit by any typhoons lately up there, or is it all nice and dry today?
Today it's nice and dry. The weather's great, but yeah, we have been hit. I mean, by a typhoon recently. It was a pretty big one, but we were lucky it didn't do a direct hit. Uh, um, But in the Philippines, as you might know, there's always a lot of typhoons coming through during the typhoon season, and we're getting uh, anywhere from 10 to 20 hitting in different regions of the Philippines. So we're always ready and waiting for them during the winter or during the rainy months.
Okay. Nick, your company was recently, I think the news was the FAA certified you for heavy MRO work on the A320 family. I've flown on those a lot, as have you, I'm sure. Give us an idea. I mean, how long of a process is that for certification? What's the training like? What is the process from you apply for certification, you put all the tooling in, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, give us an idea of the process for that, how long it takes, again, the training, and then give us an update on sort of the other portfolio of talents that you have there in the Philippines.
Okay. Our process took us a bit over a year, I think about a year and a half. There were five major steps or milestones that we had to go through. The um, the process initially was a pre-interview. We had a lot of preparation to get ready for that and to start, and it took about a year and a half. There was, like, for example, there was an initial pre-application where they do the initial interview, and then we went through a formal application where we submitted our documentation, our manuals. Then the third step would have been called a design assessment, and they go over all the manuals that we have, if they fit and not fit, and we make corrections and adjustments according to what the FAA was requiring or would need to pass that. And then the fourth and biggest step is the on-site inspection, when the FAA visits the hangar, and then they do a interview with the various departments and the personnel there. They check on all the training, they check our manuals, they do a detailed inspection on our shops and tooling, and then when you get through that step is a post-inspection and review, which comes along with the certification.
Now, do you actually have to send people to Airbus? Does Airbus come to you with some additional training or different things like that? How deeply do you work with Airbus on this certification?
It's not directly connected with Airbus. The training, of course, of the personnel is important. They have to have their certifications and their different types of training on the aspects of the FAA certification that you're applying for. For example, we applied initially for the Airbus 320 rating for the FAA, and that's where we kept it for base checks all the way to heavy checks on the Airbus 320. We didn't tackle any other types of aircraft, nor any shops at this time. But we plan to expand that as we get going to increase our FAA capability. But we have approvals for other aircraft types and other types of capability, whether it's base or line or composite or shops under other certifications, including the Philippines, including the Korean mullet, an Indonesian, heavy certification, and also Myanmar.
Okay, yeah, I see that on your website here.
Right.
You're based in the Clark Economic Zone, big development there. Clark being obviously the former U.S. Air Base there. Is most of your client base based in the Philippines, and or do you have people flying in from other areas in the region, Southeast Asia, broader Asia? And let me ask you this also, why is the Philippines a good fit? Mainly low labor costs, things like that. You've got downsides like typhoons, obviously, that make it a little bit difficult. But walk us through what you're doing there in Clark and why is that a good fit for what you're doing?
Okay, well, the Philippines strategically, or from a geolocation, is a strategic location because of its positioning between Southeast Asia, Northeast Asia, and its proximity to China. So we are able to, um, reach out to airlines and aircraft operators all through the whole eastern side of Asia, which makes it with the proximity, good location. The Philippines also has the Clark Air Base that was a former U.S. military base. So the infrastructure of Clark is excellent. We have good runways, taxiways, all kinds of space in that area. We've been there as a company 30 years now, and we're based out of a facility that was built by the U.S. So we're pretty happy with that facility, which we leased from the airport operator in the country there. The the software, let's say the manpower side, the great thing about the Philippines is the manpower, the ample supply of people and engineers and mechanics that are Filipino. They have a great grasp on English, which is an advantage over other countries. The Filipinos power so many MROs around the world. So there's a lot of people around, not only in the Philippines, but abroad that have in-depth experience that we can pull from. And there's also a good supply of new entrants that want to come up and be mechanics and engineers. So we're also actively um, um, promoting and pushing for the development of MRO in the Philippines because of all these um,
Right.
advantages we have here.
Yeah, I mean, it's to me, the Philippines really gets, I think, it's underrated in terms of what's going on. I mean, their biggest export is people, obviously. As anyone who's lived in Asia for a long time knows, they're in the shipping industry. They make up a lot of shipping crews and this and that. The work ethic is incredible. I mean, I know people, unfortunately, I knew someone who, I think she had a PhD and she was working as a helper in Hong Kong
Yeah.
because the opportunities weren't there in the Philippines. And that sort of brings me to my next question before we take a break. Does the Philippines, do they realize the government, does it realize the value that having an MRO shop like yours in country? Are you getting the support you need from the government, whether it's on training funds, for example, or training partnerships? Um, Not so much the hardware side, but sort of the training side of things. India,
Mm.
for example, they have a similar, highly educated workforce in many cases, but they tax everything so highly there, and it really MRO could be a real golden goose, but they tax the hell out of it. And
Right.
are you getting the support you need from the government? Do they realize what you could be doing, or do you need more support?
I think, of course, it's always room for more support, but the Philippines have identified MRO uh, as a priority, as a priority industry that they want to develop in the Philippines. So it's highlighted in all the investment uh, uh, advantages that they could give to entrants or companies that want to set up shop in the Philippines. They have different tax programs, shields, or you know, tax reduction. There's also import export that they try to support if it's servicing a foreign market, that you can get a reduction on your import taxes and local taxes and things like that. So yeah, they know that, and they want to develop MRO because they see it as a uh, skilled workforce opportunity for the people that are here, because a lot of the people that have the skills can't find the work in the Philippines and they're leaving abroad. So they are starting to see that, and it is going in that direction. We are also trying to lift the profile of MRO industry because it's not a retail type of business. It's a more of a B2B business. It's sometimes out of sight, out of mind. They don't see how it operates, and it may look like it's all done under the airlines, but the reality is that the airline and the aviation industry requires so many pieces to service the aviation sector. So yes, and they are seeing it. And another big advantage, which I didn't mention earlier, was that the cost basis here in the Philippines is very low, one of the lowest in Southeast Asia, probably one of the lowest in Asia, generally on the east side of Asia. So all those put together make it an important industry, and one that could be further developed here in the Philippines. And we think we're at the forefront of that. Dornier is an independent MRO. It's a homegrown MRO here, and next to a couple other larger MROs which come from outside of the country, we're the leader in that category right now.
Quick question. Did you, when you got, everybody lost people when we went through COVID and everything, did you lose people and were you able to get them back, or did you have to replace those staff that you lost?
Actually, COVID was a turning point for our company. Before that, we were still building up Dornier Technology. It was a it was an extraction from our airline, and it was spinning out from the airline that we had sold originally. And we spun out the MRO section out of that. And what happened during COVID is we were able to support the local carriers that could not or were having challenges logistically to send out airplanes. So it became an opportunity for us to showcase our capabilities then, where before the airlines here were sending airplanes to the region for maintenance. And when COVID hit, because they couldn't get the pilots back and forth, they couldn't move their tech reps back and forth. Being at home became an advantage for us, and it helped us not only showcase that but also grow our business at that time.
Okay. Nick, we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to hear from our sponsor, Metrojet of Hong Kong. We'll be right back after this.
Okay.
We're going to have the crown jewels of Asia, and I promise you we're going to have the nicest and busiest business aviation hangar in the region.
And we're back. We're in conversation with Nick Gitsis, CEO and president of MRO provider Dornier Technology in the Philippines. Nick, mentioned COVID before the break. Supply chains, huge problem for the industry, manufacturers, Boeing, Airbus, Embraer, everybody. Um, excuse me. Um, what are you seeing from an MRO standpoint? You got all the parts you need, or are you still scrounging around to get materials?
Of course, yeah, we see challenges with the supply chain, but regarding engines, it's probably one of the most challenging for the airlines. But we have delays for for some parts, for some logistics have been challenging more. Not so much now. Maybe a couple of years ago it was a little bit more complicated. I think logistically wise, the supply chain has improved here, or at least for our experience. One thing we've been focusing on is forward planning, vendor expansion, adding more vendors to our approved vendor list to make it easier to find the parts and the supplies that we need to service these aircraft. Um, yeah, I think because we're a small team, we're able to move a little bit faster, but I think forward planning is the key to managing the supply chain. So when we have projects that are we know are coming, those are easier to prepare for. When we have, say, AOG situations or airlines that come last minute, that can get a little bit more challenging. But then we also do it together with them, and we reach out to not only our counterpart, the airline, but also other um, other MROs and other partners that we have that we can help us do that.
Okay. I'm curious, still on supply chains and everything. I don't know if you went to Bangkok for the AAPA meeting recently. I couldn't go because I was grounded. I got a
Yeah, I didn't go. No, I wasn't able to get there.
Yeah, I got a bad sinus infection, so the doctor told me not to fly. But Subhas Menon, the Director General of AAPA, in his opening speech, he said that supply chains were also being hurt by tariffs. Uh, are tariffs a big thing for you or not so much?
I think for us, not so much. I haven't seen that exactly, but again, the airlines take the brunt of that. So no, I haven't seen that or haven't come across that directly with us right now.
Okay.
With our,
Okay, good to know. Let's switch gears for a minute. Technology, one of my favorite things. I'm all in favor of technology. I just wrote a column about it, AI and automation. I've got one, two, three. I've got four computers active in my office right now. I've got the podcast studio. I've got video. I love tech. I'm all over it. I've used the first web browser when it came out back in the 90s. But I have a problem with AI. Sorry?
Mhm. Was that Netscape? What was
I think it was Opera, it was called at the time. I don't remember. But that shows you, and I used to use Windows 3.1 or something, so that tells you how old I am. Um, MRO, I talked to someone at Pratt and Whitney, engine makers, where they've got an AI that's counting bolts. Fine, I understand that. But I have a real problem when it eliminates human jobs. Um, does technology, are you focused on automation and AI at all, or are you still dependent on the grease monkeys out there?
Well, of course, yeah, because we're depending on the grease monkeys, as you say. But the AI is a force that's coming. But what I see is that AI is going to be a great personal assistant to the different operations that we do inside an MRO. Systems are important because they help with streamlining processes and procedures, and give a direction to how things should work and keep it that way. And those systems we do have some systems like that, but we also do rely on the people and the manpower. I don't think in MRO you can replace the manpower. Most of it is going to be intact. I think AI in particular will enhance the capability of the MRO in many areas, like workflow automation, as I mentioned. But another place where we find it comes in handy is that in troubleshooting under AOG situations, AI and technology uh, helps counterbalance and improve our troubleshooting or our procedures, how we move ahead to make things go a little bit faster.
Okay.
So it's a great support in that way, and we think it's not going to take away jobs. It's actually going to enhance the way we work.
Okay. Good to know. Back in the regional note, I mentioned India earlier, and we talked about the Philippines, and MRO is a good fit there. Uh, we've seen a lot of action happening in Malaysia. They've got a lot of space to expand the MRO sector there. Singapore, I think, has sort of become the Switzerland of Asia in terms of MRO. I mean, it's doing all the high tech, manufacturing fan blades and things like that. Not so much the routine line maintenance and so on and so forth. Um, where do you see the competition coming from? Is it Malaysia? Is it Singapore? Is it Vietnam? Who are you kind of keeping an eye on and saying, oi, we need to wake up and keep an eye on these guys?
Right. I think we see competition coming from various countries in Southeast Asia. Malaysia is one of them. They're very aggressive in promoting the MRO sector there with their airports and for development and there is investments going on there. So yeah, we're always looking at Malaysia, but again, the Philippines still has one of the lowest costs in the region. The next one might be Indonesia, or sorry, yeah, Indonesia. There's a lot of MRO expansion going on over there, which we're looking out at and competing with Malaysia, Indonesia, and Singapore. We don't compete that much with because, like you mentioned, it's more high end, high tech. That's where the engines and the components and the very detailed work is being done. Um, and there isn't any room to add too many hangars or space to grow over there for base checks for the the, the nuts and bolts of the uh, base checks work that we do. And the Philippines though has one advantage over all those countries, and that's the large workforce and the young workforce that we have that can move into these positions and grow into this industry as it expands. So I think those countries that I mentioned a little bit maybe going towards Hong Kong, but um, yeah, Malaysia and Indonesia are the main ones right now.
Okay, good. Give me a quick idea. How many are on staff at Dornier?
Our
There.
company, we have about 260 right now,
Okay.
total, and we want to expand that as we're trying to grow our base capability from we have about 2 lines now. We want to grow it into about 6 or 8 lines to get the economies of scale out of not just our uh, facility, but also out of our manpower because we have specialized teams that comprise of many different segments, and those teams sometimes can sit idle when you have 1 or 2 lines. So if you have a larger platform that you can work on, you can maximize the workforce and the facility.
I have a question about that because I was at a conference one time and I forget who said it, but the guy was up giving a speech and I think again it was post-COVID and the guy got up there and said, "Well, we need to make aviation sexy again
Mhm.
to get back the people that we lost." And I held up my hand. And I said, "Well, why don't you just pay them more money?" You know, I find money very sexy, and you know, paycheck is always nice. How do you, you know, if you want to beef up the number of lines that you're doing, um, how are you going to attract those people to come work for you?
We're doing different things. Uh, we're we're promoting the through our we have an academy, what's called Dornier Academy. So we're promoting the advancements or the growth you can get through maintenance or through aviation to students in universities and to high schools to bring awareness to this industry, because a lot of people don't know about, again, about MROs, and they think it's just airline. So that's one thing we're doing, and from there we're training about 1,000 graduates every year into a type of apprenticeship program through Dornier Academy, where we have specialized shops, and those guys do their own marketing to their generation, let's say, so through them. But of course, pay and money is one incentive, but you have to have a certain mindset to want to work on airplanes, to work on air. You have to love aviation, and the aviation has its own allure on itself. But yeah, you have to add that combination where you may love airplanes or work on machines, and at the same time earn and that together, it's working here. People are getting to know that more and more, and it's bringing in an ample supply of want to be mechanics and engineers and those things.
Okay. Nick, last question. I always try to end these shows on a bright note. What are you talked about you want to expand, things like that. What's a bright spot for Dornier in the Philippines? And as you expand, what can we look for in the next 6 months, next year or so?
Well, I think Dornier's bright spots are where it's located. I think we're located in the Philippines. And although we mentioned about those hurricanes, the actual location of where the airport is between two large mountain ranges. So even though a big hurricane might come through or typhoon would come through, the impact is usually lessened quite a bit. And the airport, we have space to be ready for that. But the location is great between Northeast Asia and Southeast Asia. We have proximity to many countries and many different potential customers. The FAA, of course, the FAA approval opens up many doors and unlocks a lot of possibilities with airlines that want to potentially come to us, and that gives us a level of credibility that they might require. Many times airlines would want to come to us in the past, but they need an FAA or an EASA approval according to their lease agreements. So to be able to claim their maintenance reserves and things like that, that's one of the requirements there, which that's another bright spot for us. We have a blue ocean, let's say, of potential customers. The regional demand here is exploding. It's one of the highest growth areas for aircraft deliveries and airlines growing in the region. So that demand will automatically require maintenance and MROs to support these growing airlines in Southeast Asia. And we think our strength is also our manpower and the people we have, and the talent of the Filipinos, and the supply of manpower that we can bring into our MRO as we grow. So that's how we're positioning Dornier to move into the next decade of our growth.
Okay. Nick Gitsis, the President CEO of Dornier Technology in the Philippines. Thanks for joining me in conversation.
Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate being here.